Today is how to get rid of your fears, even PTSD. If you don't know what PTSD means, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. How do you get rid of that? It's supposedly a disorder in the psychological standards. And I'm going to show you how to get rid of that and how to get rid of your fears and why you should get rid of your fears. Here's what I promise you. After watching this video, you're going to find in the future that the fears you previously have been experiencing are going to begin to dissipate away. You're no longer going to feel the same fears over those fears in which you've previously experienced, even if it's post-traumatic disorder. Even if it's a huge traumatic event, you're going to begin to get rid of those fears after watching this video. And here's what you'll find. You'll find that over the coming days and over the coming months, even if you put yourself into those experiences which you feared previously, you'll find yourself having more and more courage, having more and more confidence, and having less and less fear until that fear completely disappears. And when that fear completely disappears, I want you to go back to this video and recognize the things that you've learned. And here's the challenge of what I teach. What I teach is so self-evident that you don't recognize that you've learned it from here. You don't recognize how you've learned it or why you've learned it. You just recognize that it's true. That is actually what self-evidently means. Self-evident is it evident in itself that you wonder why you've ever questioned it. And in fact, most people don't remember questioning it. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is whatever you learn here, whenever you find yourself in an experience in which you've previously all your life have always experienced fear, and then you no longer experience that fear, you're going to ask yourself, why did I ever experience that fear? That is so weird. I'm going to check my volumes. Okay, my volume's good. You're going to ask yourself, why did I ever experience that fear? That is so ridiculous and so insane. And if I really try to remember it back from now, I remember experiencing that fear, debilitating fear, for a long time in my life. And then what's going to happen? Here's over the coming days and over the coming months, you're not going to remember having that fear. Let me say that again. You are not going to remember having that fear because that is what self-evident is. A lot of things right now are self-evident to you, and you don't remember your thinking of it any other way. That is what I call secret therapy. But I'm going to digress from that, and I just want to make that promise to you that after watching this video, this is incredibly powerful. You're watching this video, and I want to warn you. I want to make this disclaimer. And the disclaimer is, if you watch this video, over the coming days and over the coming months, you're not going to remember having the fear you previously experienced even for a long time. Have I made that promise sufficient? So now let's get over this. How do you get rid of fear? I want to define what fear is. I want to define what PTSD is, post-traumatic stress disorder. I want to show you why that occurs and why that happens and how you can get over it logically, emotionally, consciously, rather conscientiously, and why those three, why logic, emotions, and conscientiously. And what does your ego have anything to do with it? So let's start. But if it's the first time you're watching this, I just want to introduce myself. My name's Ron John. I'm the author of Relationships 101. I've been a dating relationships consultant for over 13 years. I've been in many different things. I've been for professional dominatrix for 4 years. I've been in the adult industry for much longer. And I own the #1 Tantra therapy in Las Vegas, and I think the US. This is per Google. If I'm looking down, it's because my cat is gnawing at my wire, and I want her to stop. So let's begin with fear. You are feeling fear right now, whether it's a general fear or a very specific fear about something. The more specific your fear is, the more debilitating it appears for you in your mind. The more specific the fear is, the more you invest energy into it. I want you to remember something before we begin here. Asa, stop gnawing at my wire. I want you to recognize something before we begin here. I want you to remember this always. A belief is any thought which you've emotional investment. Now, why do I mention that? It's because a fear is simply a belief in many different respects, and I'm going to explain to you why that is and what's the definition of fear. A belief is any thought in which you've got emotional investment. The more specific your fear, the more specific your belief that something will occur, the more specific. Oh man, my cat keeps gnawing at my wire. She's interested. Like you're interested. Okay, so a belief is any thought which you've emotional investment. The more specific your fear, such as a post-traumatic stress disorder, such as a traumatic stress event, a stressful event, a powerful, heightened sensation, heightened event, the more specific it is, the more powerful it becomes. Why is that? It's because you're focusing more of your energy at a more specific things. Do you understand? So what is a fear? A fear is anything, any pain that you imagine in the future and you're feeling that pain now. Fear is you're feeling the pain of the thing you imagined would occur in the future, whether it's a near future or whether it's a long-term future, a longer timeline future, and you're feeling the pain of experiencing that imagined event, and then you're feeling that pain now, therefore preventing you from doing anything right now, debilitating you from doing anything that you want to do right now. That is what fear is. I want you to recognize the difference between a fear and danger. Danger is recognizing that something could cause a fatal event. It's a logic decision rather than an emotional one. Emotions play a part of it because it helps you recognize the danger. But also, emotion really sabotages you in your life because it also tells you something is dangerous when it's not. So, danger and fear are different in that danger is a recognition that something has a high fatal chance of occurring. And then fear is you're imagining the pain right now, of the pain that you would experience if you had gone through that thing. So I like to say that I have no fears. Good thing my cat's gone. She stopped gnawing at the wire. Now I can pay attention to you, like you're paying attention to me. I like to say that I have no fears. And then you say, bullshit. You don't have any fears? You don't have the fear of, what if you don't have a fear of crossing the road and getting hit by a vehicle? Then how do you survive? You don't have a fear of jumping off a building and falling and splatting on the ground dead? You don't have a fear of getting shot? You don't have a fear of bullets going across your body and shrapnels exploding inside of your organs so that you die a slow death? You don't have a fear of that? And here's what I say to that. I don't have that fear. I don't cross the road when there's cars running around at 80 miles per hour and I can see them with my eyes because I recognize that if I do that thing, I'm going to be dead. So I don't do that thing. Completely logically. No fear involved. I recognize that if I jump off a plane without any backpack, I'm not going to have anything to glide off like a parachute to land on the ground. So I don't jump off any plane without any parachutes. What are other contentions? Do I have any fear of snakes? Well, do I recognize what kind of snake it is? If it's a kind of snake that's possibly poisonous, depending on the research that I've done, I recognize, or even if I've done no research, I know nothing about snakes, I recognize that snake may or may not be poisonous. And so I don't go near that snake, even if I recognize that a high percentage of snakes don't have any poison or venom that are harmless to me. But since I don't know that, and since I haven't done any research about snakes, I'm not going to go near it. I either extricate myself from that situation or I make sure that situation is inevitably far away from me as possible. Any situation which can cause danger to me doesn't require any fear at all. And so what I would like to go over is a traumatic event. See, a lot of us, we have traumatic events. Whether or not we have the PTSD, which is the post-traumatic stress disorder, I want you to really change the words of something, because words are just human-made constructions. Words are just abstractions which we humans have created so that we can, the best that we can do, define things. Although we can never truly define things and communicate ways using words in the same exact way that we mean them, I want you to try communicating with words with your partner and see how much disagreement you have. Why? It's because you mean different things with different words. Even if it's the same words you're communicating in the same language with a different person, they could have many different definitions of that words. One of the primal definitions is love. There are as many different definitions of love as there are people you ask. In other words, every single person you ask will have a different definition of love. And that goes the same with every other word, even the most banal, except for the real objective descriptions such as orange. It's very hard to delineate other forms of orange than orange or green or blue. So let's go back. PTSD is a word that is people have come up with, a construction, an abstraction, to do their best to describe a particular behavior or event or occurrence. So I want you to change PTSD to, is it actually a disorder, or is it an order of the mind? You could refer to it as PTSO, post-traumatic stress order, in which your mind, or you can call it PTSRO, which is post-traumatic stress reorientation. In fact, as I've come up with that term right now, I want you to really think about that, and I want you to even apply that into your life. If you have any specific things in which you, in your recent life, or in your long distance in the past life, anything that happened to you in the past, whether it's recent or a long time ago, any event in which it has a high, when you have a high perception of it, when it is anything that occurs in your life which causes you a high sensation, sensory reaction, your mind records it. This is why when you are having fun and learning at the same time, you're learning better. Why is that? It's because you're in a high emotional state. When you come across any event that causes a high emotional state in you, a strong reaction from you, your mind is going to do its most powerful thing that it can do, which is to learn. Here's the secret of the hypnotist. The secret of the hypnotist, if you haven't heard me say it already, is that the thing we know that most no one else knows is that the mind is a learning machine. That is all the mind is. The mind is a learning machine. It learns faster than you think you can imagine. You can imagine, you can think. I want you to test out something for you. You are thinking 3 times faster while you're talking. When you're talking, you're thinking 3 times faster and you're just trying to catch up. Which is why, for some people, it's very hard to talk slower. It actually takes a lot of effort to talk slow and to make it understandable and to enunciate your words. It's because your mind is running 3 times faster than you are speaking. When you're not speaking, your mind is running 8 to 10 times as fast. Do you understand? You learn really, really fast. And that is the secret of secret therapy, a term that I learned from my mentor, in that once you recognize that the mind is merely a learning machine, you can communicate with anybody and cause therapeutic events in them without their ever recognizing it. And in the future, they're never remembering they thought about it in a different way. And so this is why I made you that promise that after watching this video, you're going to find yourself in a dilemma that the thing, when you put yourself in a situation which you previously feared in a debilitating format or state, you find yourself not having any fear at all and finding it silly that you have that fear. You had that fear, if you even remember having that fear, if you even remember seeing it another way. Which is why I so love my book, Relationships 101 on Amazon. Find it, Relationships 101 by Rowan John. Why do I love that book so much? Is because after you read it, you'll never see relationships the same way again. I challenge you. I challenge you to read that book, Relationships 101 on Amazon by Rowan John, and try to see things the same way that you've seen it before. It's impossible. Why is that? It's because your brain is learning so fast. And there are some people who believe that they can't learn that fast. They believe that they got to take notes, they got to pay really close attention. And that belief is what debilitates them, what inhibits them from actually learning fast. What actually prevents you from being the genius that you are, which you are, is your believing that you're not. This is really funny. Your inability to do things and to accomplish things and create successful events is your belief that you can't do those successful events. Have you ever found yourself communicating comfortably and confidently and for hours and hours you can never stop talking with your best friend? Or have you ever communicated with somebody things you're passionate about and you can talk for hours and hours and hours without any inhibition with your best friend? Now put you in front of a camera and you stutter and you say and ah and you can't communicate comfortably and you're self-conscious. When previously you communicate with somebody, you couldn't stop talking about something, and you're put on a camera, and your inhibition, your belief has gotten to you, preventing you from doing the thing that you can completely, comfortably, confidently do. It is your belief that inhibits you from doing the thing that you like. So going back to post-traumatic reorientation, any event that causes a high emotional state causes your brain to remember it and ensure your brain remembers it and ensure that every time you're put in that event, you remember that very state so that what? To protect you. So that you never go through that dangerous event ever again. Your mind has conflated between fear and danger because that's how you think. So what I'd like you to do is reframe that into post-traumatic stress reorientation until you no longer have that stress. Until you've reoriented your brain enough to recognize that many different people who have recognized something, who have recognized that you can reorient yourself to events, have come into the conclusion that any traumatic event no longer exists and has a high unlikelihood of ever existing again outside of your learning from it. It is unimportant and useless outside of what you can learn from it. And so these people who have gone over deaths, who have gone over being raped, who have gone over traumatic events that you couldn't even ever imagine, women who from 6 years old on have had her uncles rape her over and over and over again. And she grew up in this society, this cult, in which the elderly would have sex with children. This woman has gone over that by recognizing what this thing will not exist again, and this thing has given me the power to have more control over myself rather than less, has given me the power to recognize that I will never put myself in that situation again, has given me the power to empower other people to not put themselves in that situation again or ever in their life. And learning is what you can get from a useless event that no longer has a high unlikelihood of ever existing again. You're putting your hand on a fire and recognizing, hey, that's really hot, not do that again. Doesn't require any fear. It just says, that is fire. I shouldn't do that again. I shouldn't put anything outside of any other thing that professionals do to not feel that heat. So, anyways, I've given you enough examples. I've given you enough things. So here's my call to action to you. I want you to always remember that a fear is just an imagined event. It's the imagination of the pain you would feel in the future if you go through that thing. The thing that's stopping you from If you have a fear of interacting with people, the fear of social anxiety, the fear of talking to people, the fear of approaching somebody who you really, really like, who's really adorable and sweet, and then you imagine that they're probably gonna reject you, that they're probably gonna say mean stuff to you. You imagine all of this, and then you feel the pain that, oh my God, I'm not gonna do that because there's a chance that they might reject me or might shout at me. Why are you approaching me? Who are you? And then the likelihood that that would ever occur, coming from somebody who's a dating relationships consultant who took men out to events to meet other people and took men and women out there to meet and socialize with other people, trained teams and organizations. And the occurrence of that happening is very, very small. Maybe 1%, maybe even less, maybe 0.01%, that ever occurring. It is all just imagined in your mind, the pain that you'd feel, preventing you from doing the thing that you would like, getting the result that you'd like, creating the successful events that you would like, is your imagination. So I'm going to end it at that. So if you like this video, if you want to help make the world a better place, share this video with other people. If you want to help me out with the algorithm, click the like. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I do a live video every Thursday, every week, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And follow my social medias because I do a video and a post every single day. And I'll talk to you next time. And remember, actually, there are things right now that you don't remember, which I've previously, in the beginning of this video, I told you you will not remember and you will feel silly that you ever thought about it in that way. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.